area you are in. This is Precious Auntie P for today's class. I know there's been a bit of delay in uploads, but it's because I've been a lot of things from work and other stuff that came up. So last week we did something on conversation as well because we're at the conversation stages now where we're dealing with different daily conversations so that you can learn how to communicate now. I haven't understood the tone, uh, the finals, and the initials. Now we have to put them to work. We already know how important the tone is in descriptions of in communication generally in Chinese communication. The importance of the tone matters a lot because if you do not put in the right tones, like we said before, the likelihood of not getting the right response or the right reply is almost 99.9%, except in a situation where you're dealing with somebody who is probably your friend or understand what you're trying to say, either by description or by the fact that you have probably discussed it before somehow. So he or she is able to deduce that, oh no, this is what this person is talking about. But if not, if it's in a conversation, an open conversation, office conversation, or even in a meeting, and the wrong tone is used for something, honestly, it's going to throw the recipient or the receiver off. And that will mean miscommunication because something else can be said. Already, I've also discussed that the Chinese character has about 5,000 characters. Yes, while if you know about 500 can do you a lot of good, but because most of the characters are mixed into each other, forming different words. So it may do you a lot of good. I'm saying what I was told. Now I don't know if it has changed. Maybe you need to learn up to 1,000. But when I was in school then, I remember my teacher saying if you know up to 500 of the 5,000, which is 1/10 of the characters, then if you know the meaning of about 500 out of the 5,000, about more than 5,000, then you'd have done yourself a lot of good because if you know the meaning, when they mix it, the meanings are not totally off. They are close, meaning different things. So you might be able to still make sense out of it and make good communication. But like I said, if it's not your mother tongue, the truth is constant practice, constant learning, continuous practicing is all you need. Because if you try as much as possible to practice, for example, we are practicing now, maybe some persons after the first class, they just close their books and they are off, you know, might find it difficult to memorize or even repeat the same class the next time. And that's just the template. That's just the way it goes. Once you miss it, you miss it. There's nothing. It's not something that is there. Even the normal or the usual English language, if it's not your language, because I work with a lot of Chinese and a couple of them have tried to learn English, but when they don't practice often, they don't even get to understand or even speak the English. So, but those that practice, even when they are wrong, they are the ones that have been able to uphold it and continue learning. Is it like that basically for all languages? I think I speak some other languages in Nigeria other than the English and Chinese, but I realize that sometimes when I want to speak some of those languages, if I have not spoken them for a while, I schooled in the north in my secondary school, and there were some Hausa languages I knew, or rather Hausa words, sentences I knew back then. But when I moved back to Lagos and I didn't have, say, the Hausa community to discuss with often to continue that trajectory, I forgot a couple of things. But now that I'm back to the north, I'm beginning to pick those words one after the other again, trying to form words, trying to understand it when people say something, even if I cannot speak, but when they say something, I get what they are trying to say, and they are like, wow, you are beginning to understand the language. I'm like, if I can understand it and not speak it, well, maybe good, but I would like to speak. So I'm practicing that as well. So you can see a whole lot of things being put together. Language is such that there has to be that continuous practicing. So enough of the talking and all. Let's go to today's class. The last time not the last time, I think in my previous classes, I've always said that for a beginner, there are three words, or yes, there are words that you must at least know, whether you practice or you don't practice, but just try to memorize those words. That includes thank you, goodbye, and uh, thank you, goodbye, and hello. Because when you meet anybody for the first time, for example, the usual practice is to show courtesy, and the courtesy is not goodbye. Sometimes the courtesy is not thank you. I can't meet you and say thank you. No, it's either I say excuse me, but basically there will be this hello if I'm not greeting you good morning. Now, if you notice, I've not really taught us about good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Not because I can't, I might touch it in this class, but in the Chinese context, good morning, good afternoon, good evening is not something they are used to like we are in this side in Nigeria, where if you see somebody, if you say hello to an elderly person, it's considered disrespectful. I hope we know that, you know. So the courtesy will be good morning, sir. Good morning, ma. But in the Chinese environment, if you say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, it's okay. But if you say the hello, it's not a disrespectful act. It's actually the way they greet themselves, even normally. So they don't see you and say, Zhao Shanhao, as a courtesy. No. When I see you, I can say, good morning, sir. Good morning, ma. At my courtesy and respect. But instead of saying, hello, sir, hello, ma, only very few people will see the hello as. But largely, everybody will be like, what's hello? Am I a mate? Am I whatever? But if I say good morning, sir, good morning, how are you? They'll prefer that. But in Chinese, Zhao Shan Hao, Xiao Hao, Wan Shan Hao, it's okay. Understand what I'm saying? I'm saying it's okay. You can use it. But when you say hello, they also don't think you're disrespectful. They are also as open as they would be if you tell them good morning, good afternoon, or good evening compared to our clients. So you see the difference. So that's why if you don't even know how to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, if you know how to say hello, it's good enough. It can spark a conversation, it can start something new, and it can build friendship as well. Then at the end of, assuming you said hello and you want to ask a question, even if you change back to English, assuming those people know how to speak English. And so maybe you just use the hello to tell them, I'm practicing Chinese. So you said ni hao. And they're like, hey, ni hao. They'll be so excited to respond to you. And after ni hao, maybe you don't know the next thing to say. And you just moved to English and say whatever you need to say. When they are done explaining to you, it's expected that you should show another courtesy, which would be the thank you. So you should be able to say, xie xie. It's important that you know how to say yes, yes. That's the next word you should know once you start learning Chinese. And of course, you're not going to go with them to their house. You're going to be in your own house or you be in your space. So you need to leave and go back to your house. After such meeting, you want to say goodbye. And if it's somebody you see tomorrow, if it's a classmate, a workmate, a project partner, or something, you might find yourself saying something else. But basically, see you tomorrow, or let's say goodbye. Let's stop at goodbye for now. It's going to be Zai Jian. Zai Jian. So you need to know Ni Hao, you need to know Xie Xie, and you need to know Zai Jian. You need to know Ni Hao, you need to know xie xie, and you need to know zaijian. I repeat, ni hao for hello, xie xie for thank you, zaijian for goodbye or see you later. In today's lesson 3, we're going to be talking of 明天见 because we're in conversation now. We are done with the tones. Probably by the end of this month, or I'll find a day in this month to do a revision of everything, just to be sure that we still know our tones. I really wish we can do something a bit more conversational, but I believe there'll be time for everything. If people a time will come when we'll be able to do this either in the chat boxes or direct messages to me, and then we'll be able to do more of those conversation as I don't plan to stop now. Okay, so today we are going to be doing 明天见. In English, this is lesson 3. Sorry, I think I have a bit of a lesson 3. But in Chinese, it's 第三课. You can see it from here. 第三课. The tones are there, the character is there, and the pinyin So if you have your computer and you want to type, you put your DI, you know the character to choose, you know san for 3 and k for lesson. So lesson 3. So like I told you the last time, for beginners, the Chinese pinyin will be written, pinyin being the alphabet that shows what your pronunciation is. For example, this is Ming Tian, Ming Tian, Ming Tian, Jian, Ming Tian, Jian. You can see the character in ABC and the tone, uptone, the the middle tone, and the down tone. And then you can see the characters to show you what each word means. So for beginners, you will have the pinyin, the characters, and the tones. But as you progress, those will be off. It will be expected that by now you would have mastered it. And after each class, there's always that. I hope we're taking snapshots of them. Let me go back to the last class. There's also, if you want to learn to write, there's also a place to learn to write each characters. But it will be good if you want to do HSK and you need to write. But right now with the computer, all you need to do is know the pin, know the character you want to pick, just like this, and it will be easier. For example, this is pin. They can tell you to write the character. Using the computer, you might be able to know it, but how would you know it? If you know what ni means, meaning which of the ni, that's what I mean. Because when you say ni, there are a lot of characters that are ni. So you need to know which of the ni you are looking for. Mang, you need to know which of the mang. It has to be the mang that represent busy. Ma, you need to know that. The same thing with han yu mang ma, nan ma. You need to know the han yu nan ma that you're looking for. Ni baba hao ma. You need to know the characters. So this is how usually the exams, when they want to give exams, they might write it in pin, they expect you to write it in characters. Or sometimes they write it in the character, they expect you to write it in pin. Or like this, complete the dialogue. They write the response and you're supposed to think of what should be here for me to respond this way. What should be here for me to respond this way? So basically, this is how it goes. Understanding and knowing. Like you can see in this particular place, there are four tones. There are words with the four tones, and then they put in the character and said they might say choose which of the tones is for this character. So it is essential that you are able to recognize character and the tones of those characters with the pin because it will help you so that you know if I say ta, I should know that I'm talking about he or she, which is this, which is the first time. If I say mang, that's the second note, and it means busy. If I say han, that's the third one, and this is what the character looks like. I should be able to memorize that. If I say nan, which is the second one, I should be able to. Han yu, I should know what it is. Baba, I should be able to tell which of them. Mama, I should be able to tell. Gaga, I should be able to tell. Mei Mei, I should be able to tell. And then Didi, I should be able to tell which one. So this is how you learn. So I hope you're taking these pictures and these snapshots so that it helps you memorize which tone. This is the correct tone for these characters. This is the correct tone for these characters. So this is just how most of the language will be in terms of understanding or how to practice knowing the characters. These are other ways you can take these snapshots and remember them. Baba, mama, haoma, mangma, dama, nanma,很好, 很忙, 很大, 很难, like that. 你好吗? 很好. You can see there is no pin, but because I'm already used to the character, I can tell. 你好吗? 很好. 你忙吗? 很忙. 汉语难吗? 汉语不难. I'm able to know this because I know the characters. But for a beginner, they give you this. You might not be able to. For a beginner, even, they give you this and you've not practiced the character. You might not know which character should represent this, which character to them. So it's very essential that you practice exercises and words so that you can memorize which character. So let's go to lesson 3. In today's lesson, we're doing Ming Tian Jian. Ming Tian Jian simply means see you tomorrow. which is also similar to goodbye. But literally, Mintianjen means see you tomorrow. So when they say Mintianjen, it means see you tomorrow. But some people can say it also means goodbye, but goodbye is actually Zaijian. Zaijian means see you later or see you again, which is what when you tell somebody goodbye, basically it's a courtesy of saying it's not just what's the meaning of bye bye? Bye bye is not just waving you. It connotes something. For now, we are done. We'll see again till we see again. So that's what it's trying to say. So Mintian Jen, because of the Mintian means tomorrow. Jen means see. So see you tomorrow, which you can also use. Usually, sometimes they also use that for bye bye, but usually they tell you not to use it for goodbye. The reason being that if I tell you Mintian Jen, it means we have an appointment and I am sure that we would see tomorrow. So see you to while it can mean goodbye in a context, it is advisable for the purpose of clarity and understanding not to use it if you know you have no plan to see the person tomorrow. For example, if you're my classmate, if I want to say Zai Jen, I can say maintain Jen if there is school tomorrow because I know I will see you tomorrow. But basically, what I might be saying may not really be see you tomorrow. It may be goodbye. But because I know I will see you tomorrow, I can use, instead of Zai Jen, I can use maintain Jen. Because there is that assurance that except something bad happens, I should see you tomorrow because we are classmates. Or if we are colleagues in the office, I can use maintain Jen because I should see you tomorrow. But I might actually be meaning goodbye after the close of work. I could just mean that, and that may just be what I mean. But maybe I can't get Zai Jen off my mind. I just said maintain Jen, you know, basically still meaning goodbye, see you later, see you tomorrow. But because there is maintain, people always see it as this is the meaning. It means see you tomorrow. So for that reason, if this person is just a casual friend, an acquaintance, somebody you don't work with, you don't do business with, you meet the person, the best thing when you're departing to tell the person is Zaijian. That's the best thing to say because when you say maintain Jen, it could mean that, oh, is he going to see me tomorrow? Are we seeing tomorrow? And it could miss the language. So let's go to communication now. The A part. Ni shui yin yuma. Now, I'll take the words one after the other. In our first communicate conversation class, we've spoken ni. Ni means you. Now, shui means study. Yin yu means English language. Just like Hanyu means Chinese language. Yingyu means English language. Ma, I told you before, that's just a particle or a unit noun or verb that is usually put at the end of a sentence just to give it a question kind of connotation. Really doesn't mean anything. Because I can ask, Ni shui yingyu. But if I say Ni shui yingyu, it makes it look like it's a sentence, not or a statement, not a question. But if I mean to make it a question, then I must put that ma at the end. But the ma itself doesn't have any meaning. But its presence there shows that this is a question and not just an open sentence. So that's it. The ma at the end of the note means it is a question, not just an open sentence. So if I say Nishueyin you, it could mean that I'm just saying it, or you study English in terms of just trying to confirm for myself, or I'm just making a statement to study English. But by the time I put the ma, it really tells me it's a question. So for that reason, when you have any question you need to ask, there are some particle verbs or nouns that they put at the end of the question to be able to show that this is a question. We also have some others we put at the end of statement that emphasizes the statement. It's not a question. It just puts a bit of emphasis on the statement. You know, it's like in English, if I say, now wow, or is this really okay? When you put that really means something, really stretches it, right? But in our own context, in some places, when you put in some exclamation, I'm trying to find it in the proper English. If I'm going to use the, I don't want to say the Nigerian English, but if I want to use the local pidgin English, when somebody says something and laments, puts the O or the R, they stretch that thing to put more emphasis. I don't know if English has it, but that's I hope people understand what I'm trying to say. Some things you put in at the end of a sentence that just kind of stretches it beyond what it's supposed to mean, kind of giving it a bit of more emphasis and push. So that's what some of those things means. As we meet it, we say, so for ma, whenever you say ma, ma makes it a question. It pushes the question. It's like when I said ni hao ma turns it to how are you, which is a question. But if you say ni hao without the ma, it just means hello. But when you put that ma, it changes the hello into how are you, which makes it a question. So you can see that while it means nothing in particular, you can see me have explained what ni means, what shui means, what yin yu means, but I can't tell you what ma means. I can only tell you the function of ma in this sentence. So see it. And the last time I said the first character in front of this is the character of ko, which is the character of the mouth. In Chinese, the ko, when they say ko, ko means mouth, and this is how it is written, just the square. Then this ma at the back of it. So when they add the ko and the ma, it just talks about the mouth stretching something. That's how some of us learn to it. We just get critical characters and we try to know, okay, whenever I see this character, it means something that has to do with study. It means something that may have something to do with language. It means something that may have to do with just emphasis, for what it is. Okay, so this is the question. Nishweyin Yuma, and the response is bu. If you notice, after the bu, there is a comma, means it's stopped. Shui Hanyu. I will explain all. Chu Beijing Chu Beijing Dui. Chu Beijing Dui. If you watch my tones, you see I'm putting in the tones. Dui. Dui means yes. In some other places, they could also use it as okay, but largely it means yes. Whenever I say do it means yes. Chu, Beijing, ma. Chu means go. Beijing, you know Beijing, Beijing. Another ma to tell you is a question. So when you say go Beijing, that's not what it means. Chu Beijing ma is a question that says, have you been to Beijing? You see the Chinese character, just 3 characters, and if you read it literally, it means have you been to Beijing? But because of the ma at the back that changed it to question, even though the ma does not mean have you been, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. The ma there has no meaning, but it puts emphasis. Now, the ma does not mean have you been, but it changed that whole question to have you been to Beijing? Because chu means literally when you say chu, it means go. Beijing is a place, so Beijing is Beijing. Then they added ma at the end. So go Beijing, no. That's why if you've ever seen a Chinese person speak, you will notice that sometimes when they speak in a way that sometimes some people laugh. I'm not talking of the polished one that understand the grammar now. I'm talking of people who just speak. Sometimes they speak the interpretation of the direct Chinese language. They speak the interpretation of the direct Chinese language. For instance, if a Chinese person wants to ask you, have you been to Beijing? And he's not so fluent in English, he would not ask you, have you been to Beijing? Literally the way I'm asking you. He will say, you go Beijing, you go Beijing. What he's trying to tell you is that, have you been to Beijing? Because I've seen people tell you go China, and I know what they're asking me that, have I been to China? When they hear me speak Chinese, good, you go China. The question is, have you been to China? So I'm explaining this so that we don't make the mistake of, also not understanding when a Chinese person speaks back to us. As much as we want to speak in English, Chinese language sometimes don't have that long grammar of have you been, in English you put all those things to make the sentence beautiful and meaningful. They pick it as it is. It is when it's translated to English. If you pick this word, if you know how to type chew now, they've told you what chew means, it's QU. If you type QU and you type Beijing and you type Ma and you translate, you will see what it's going to write. It won't write, if you take it to Google or whatever, it won't write go Beijing, no. It will bring it out the way the English grammar should look like. So Chu Beijing Ma means, have you been to Beijing? It's a question. So when you say do, it means yes. Then Ni Shui Ying Yuma, I already said that means, are you studying English? It's a question. It's not you study English, even though you can say that. But because it is a question, if I can say you study English, and that's like not a question, it's like a sentence. You study English. She studies English. It's like a sentence. It's, you study English, you know. But because the ma is there, the question is not you study English. The question is something like you study English, which is different from you study English. It's different from you study English. So because I will need to stretch it for you to know it's a question, the right grammar will be, do you study English? Are you studying English? That is usually the way the English version would have been. Are you studying English? Do you study English? That's the way the question will be. But if you take it literally from the Chinese and you want to read it literally, it's going to be, you study English. You study English. The way you ask the question is going to put the question mark at the end. So the ma there, once you see the ma, it changes everything. Just know it is a question. So don't take it in the literal sense of ni means you, shui means study, yin you means English. So it means you study English. No. That is the way the Chinese will write it. But the question is, do you study English or are you studying English? And the response is no, which is boo. The response is no, which is boo. And then shui yin yu. You can see they say boo, study Chinese. It means no, study Chinese. Even that response, but this is written, no, study Chinese. The Chinese is not going to give you the long one, but no, I am studying Chinese. Except if the person, somebody like me, I would not say no, study Chinese. I'm going to say bo wo shui. I'll put wo in front of it, which means I study English. Or I'll put wo shui, bo wo shui han yu. I'll put the hi. If I'm going to respond, if it's a conversation between me and someone, and the person said ni shui yin yu ma, say bo wo shui han yu. I'll put the I in front. But removing the I, just say bo shui han yu. And that is how they communicate, to be honest. They don't personalize all those I and you in some words. It makes it too long. So they cut it short in righteousness. And as a result, both parties understand the communication. So you need to understand this, but you also need to know how to interpret it in English if you have to explain to someone else. So this is a short text. We'll just go about it again. And then that will be all for this class. Like I said, I want to make the classes as short as possible because it's better you understand the conversations, how it goes, and have it little and get it for the day, practice it, and it's become something you master, than there's a lot of communication and conversation. In the next class, we'll continue from here. We'll go to other texts. We'll see how it goes. But basically, just know this is Mintianjian. Don't forget, we are doing Mintianjian. This is a question, and we've not gotten to the place where somebody actually used Mintianjian. But they are prepping it, trying to tell you conversation. I'm sure it is one person who says they met probably in school, or they met in the marketplace, or they met somewhere. Say, are you studying English? Ni shui an yuma bo. Ni shui yin yuma bo. Wo shui han yu, or bo shui han yu. Okay, if you're studying Chinese, I know they study Chinese in Beijing, and the person is like, true Beijing ma? Say, boo, which means no. I studied it in Nigeria. True Beijing ma? Dui, yes, I've been to Beijing, you see. So now, let me just give a prep of this. You can see the conversation picture. This is where it was actually used, in this place. So we're into conversations now. So this first conversation I've told us something. So let's move to the second one. This one is ni chu yoju ji shin ma. Ni chu yoju ji shin ma. I'm going to explain that. Ni here means you. Chu, we already see, means go. Yoju means post office. Ji means to send. Shin means letter. And ma, we already know what it is. So, Nichu Yoju Jishima, the person is asking, are you going to the post office to send the letter or to post the letter? That's the question. Are you going to the post office to send the letter or post the letter? Two persons communicating. And the person is replying, Bu Chu. Chu Yin Hang Chu Xie. No, I'm not going. No, I'm not going. Or no. This one is Bu Chu. Bu Chu means no go. You can't use that in English. No go. It's going to be, I'm not going. I'm not going to the post office. But I know you're talking about the post office. So if I say buchu, it means I'm not going to the post office. I'm going. Now I started with chu, which means go bank, collect money. So this I'm just doing the direct translation. Go bank, collect money. But this is how the Chinese conversation goes. You know, buchu, chu yin hang chu che, meaning I'm going to the bank to collect money. I'm not going to the post office. I'm going to the bank to withdraw money. Chu qian means withdraw money. Chu qian means withdraw money. And after this conversation, they must be friends or something. This one is like Ming Tian Jian. Ming Tian Jian. So someone said goodbye, the other person definitely will say goodbye. See you tomorrow. The other person will definitely say see you tomorrow. See you later. See you later. And that's it. So we could have, you can say Mintian and Jian. I was telling you before, Mintian means tomorrow, Jian means to see. To see. So when you put it tomorrow together, it means see you later. See you tomorrow. See, because Jian there means to see. To see. So maintain Jian will be see you later. See you tomorrow. So we'll stop here today. Please let's practice the words. Let's understand. We're in conversations now. We've gotten the tones, we've gotten the finals and the initials. We see how they go in together. So right now we're going to be doing more of conversations, different conversations. There are times I will not brandish the book. It's just going to be my face, and that will be it. I'll just talk about general things. We might not talk about the book, just to see how we're catching up and all that. So that's it today. I hope we've learned about Minty and Jen. And we've also learned how the Chinese communication and conversation goes. Short words, but the meaning when you translate them in English is longer. That's why some people get surprised when people want to say something in English. They say it so much, but when the person is interpreting, uses maybe 2 or 3 characters, and the 2 or 3 characters captures what the person is saying. It's not like it doesn't know what he's saying or he cut it off. No. Sometimes when we speak so much, we in particular that learned Chinese, when we speak so much, is because we want to try as much as possible to make it like an English form. But usually in Chinese, they reduce their sentences and use words, and the words that are used are understood by those who are listening to them. But if I want to speak most times, where if I feel something should have me or I would like to put it there. For example, I gave this example. Chu Beijing ma. Chu Beijing means go Beijing in direct translation to English. But to a Chinese person, what the person is asking you, have you been to Beijing? So can you see, if somebody says Chu Beijing man, I'm going to translate to another person who probably doesn't understand what the person is saying. I will say, she's asking if you have been to Beijing. I'm not going to say, she's asking go Beijing. No. You can see the difference. So as an interpreter, you'll be able to know what they are trying to say. While the languages in Chinese are short, but your interpretation will be a bit stretched to help the person understand. Else, your interpretation will just also be flawed. Chinese is an interesting language. They save words, but they speak volume in the saved words. There are some characters they call four four sentence, four letter word. I think 四字 or something like that. It means four letters, four characters, but it's a long sentence. It's amazing. If you go to most of their project site, you see when they post those things, you see some characters that are just four characters. But if they should interpret those characters for you, it could mean um, the meaning. Sometimes now they even try to make it, they try to summarize it and make it smaller. But literally, what it means is quite more than that. So that will be all for today's class. We've taken so much class. As we move into conversation, there'll be a lot of explanation. So the conversations might be short so that I can give room for us to explain how this languages are or how these things mean and how you can. But the most important thing we cannot forget is memorize your pinyin, which is the alphabetic pronunciation of the words. Like this ni, shui, yin, yu, those are pinyin. If you want to type on your system, those are the things you type before choosing the characters of the word you're trying to say. So let's practice the pinyin. Let's identify the characters of each pinyin so that when we are writing, it will be easier. And when we are speaking, let's not forget the tone matters a lot in our speech. Thank you very much for listening. This is Auntie P. See you next time. Bye bye.